G'day guys, welcome back to Supercoach with DR and welcome to the Round 15 stock market video. Hope you're having a cracking week so far. Well, it's a bit of a late upload this week, isn't it? It's currently 3 a.m. and I'm just about to start, so apologies for that. I was almost about to give up, to be honest. I've been that busy with school, got so much to do. I'm finishing up on Friday though, so light at the end of the tunnel. Also watching the Lions Saints game, catching up with John O'Cause, a few of the boys, which will be awesome. So certainly some things to look forward to. But look, at the end of the day, I said to myself, nah, I'm making a commitment. I've got to get these out each week. And that's what I'll do tonight. So apologies that the upload is a little bit late, but hopefully it'll be out, maybe by 6 o'clock, so you can catch it maybe on the way to work or on the way to school, whatever you're doing in the morning. So again, apologies for that, guys, but hopefully we'll go through some options you can get in this week, because look, massive decisions. Lots of coaches looking to finalise their sides, but things are complicated at the moment because we just don't seem to have the downgrade options. We've got other decisions on our hands. Do we trade or hold Sicily? Those people that have held Oliver this whole time, damn bad luck. He is out again this week, and that is confirmed. So what do you do with these type of blokes? You know, do you go early on Petrarca? When we say early, for those people that were looking to get Clarion this week, do you change your way of thinking? Get the big cement bag in? Possibly. You got Laird, you got Neil. There's certainly some midfield options. Down the bottom though, I'll tell you what, the Man of Steel, not Superman. You can see Clark Kent there with that expression on his face. That is my expression at the moment, being a Jack Steele owner. It goes from that confusion to anger to frustration to almost tears at the moment, I tell you. Jackie boy, not going well. Maybe a trade out option. We may just need to get rid of the bloke, but you could hold. We'll get into him. Eddie Ford down the bottom there as well. Easy traded option this week, and I think we'd go straight to the top. It's a bit of a rule breaker. Only played the one game, but Marriage there, I think, is a really obvious selection. In the middle, I did mention Rory Laird already, and the other bloke we've got here, Darcy Cameron. I tell you what, he is a fantastic option this week. Great ruck cover, and I think he can also be a decent F6 in his own right. So we'll get into it. Housekeeping wise, I don't think that there's much. We did record the Supercoach. We did record the Swordplay podcast last night, and that's the other thing I was going to mention. That's what I was thinking of. In my round review, you did leave a lot of comments, and I'll make sure that I get to them in a separate video. So I'm going to upload a video tomorrow. I've got about half an hour before my student conferences start, so I'll make sure I do that. And also, anyone that left a question on the Swordplay mailbag, we couldn't get to that this week with all the hot topics. I'll get to your questions as well. So I'll sort of merge them together, the YouTube questions and comments, as well as the Twitter ones under that Swordplay tag. I'll make a video tomorrow. Hopefully that will be uploaded by lunchtime, so you've got enough time to check out my responses to your questions there as well. And I really appreciate all the comments and all the questions on the round reviews and the potties, etc., etc. So that is it for now, guys. I better get straight into this. Try to keep it around 45 minutes, I think. Let's see who's at the top of the 500k plus defenders. Alrighty, let's get into it. Now, I know a lot of people have the Sicily decision to make, and we did discuss that last night in the Swordplay potty, so make sure you check that out. But for me, there are 4 clear options that I'd be comfortable trading in this week, and that's Tom Stewart, Nick Dacos, Jordan Dawson, and Jack Sinclair. After that, I think it gets a little bit dicey, or dicey may be a little bit disrespectful to a couple of these blokes, but I think you could pretty much throw a blanket over a few of them. So up the top, we've got Jordan Ridley. He's been on fire, and I hate it as a non-owner, as a previous owner. I sold him for 426k, which is around an 80k loss already, and copped his concussion 18. After that, he's gone 122, 130, 102, and 108. The friendly rolls back, but Spills did mention that we need to be wary when Kelly returns because that could likely have a negative impact on his scoring, but a cheaper option outside of that top four. Sinclair, I think, is a top four. Had a massive first quarter, close to 50 points last week, but then did slow up as the game went on. Still managed 100 plus, and I think he's another good trading option for Sicily, and you can also bank 100k there. Luke Ryan did reach triple figures for the first time in a month. Still a viable option, although I don't expect him to obtain his season average from here. His ceilings dropped due to game style and a couple of other circumstances, but he did reward those that went with him last week with a decent type score. Dacos had the bye last week. I'm sure everyone that watches this channel owns him, so no real need for discussion. Phenomenal season from the young king. I do expect, however, this week for him to get some attention from Benny Keys. I'm not certain on that, but I would assume that that would be the case. So may not get a ripper score this week. I'd avoid having him in your captaincy loops just in case. Oh, the Seagull. He was finally back in his natural habitat against the Lions, which was a lovely sight to see, as known to myself. It looks like the wing experiment has now come and gone. And I'll tell you what, I hope that is the case because we just do not want to see this man on a wing. So, look, you got 27 touches, kick-ins, distributed off half-back. Still a little risky at this stage, but it seems like Horse has come to his senses. 103 points was fantastic after, 74 the week before. Tommy Stewart, down game from him, but this is why we love owning him. Still managed to punch out a 90 plus. Apart from his injury-affected 18, 91 is his lowest score of the season. So talk about a high floor. You know, even when he isn't at his best, he still manages to give owners something respectable, a safe as houses type pick, and almost a certainty to finish in the top three defenders from here on out. So another one of those top fours there, really comfortable with. The last top four I've got here is Jordan Dawson. In round 5, he had a season average of 129.2 after scores of 97, 110, 114, 173, and 152. But unfortunately, his highest score in the last month is only a 120, as well as 106 and a pair of 90s. He's obviously one of the best kickers in the comp, but lately his efficiency has been below par for his high standards. Hopefully the bye did him well. He can come back out and give us some ceiling scores in the next 10 weeks. One of the top line defenders, DPP. Love Dawson as a selection, and I've got all the faith in the world that he'll hit back and finish the season really, really strongly. And Mason Redman, having a great year. Only gone under 100 once in the last 5 weeks. A fantastic get if you jumped on in, round 9 or 10. I actually prefer him over Ridley myself, as I think he's a safer option. But look, in summary, I think you can't go wrong with those top four. But if you already own them, just take your pick from the rest of the list. On to the defenders, 250 to 500k. And before we get into this, I need to give a huge shout out to my main man, my favourite player in the comp, the Pepsi Max King, for taking out the round 14 Rising Star nomination. Congratulations, mate. You are an absolute beast. Well deserved. Last 2 weeks, 90 and a 75. As soon as I've traded him out, he's gone, bugger you, DR. Should have stuck with me, mate. If I'm your favourite player in the comp, why are you trading me out of your Supercoach side? So, sorry, mate. I just had to do it. But absolutely love this bloke. He's going to be a star for us in the future. So, well done, Pepsi. Great stuff, mate. And if you're still an owner and you've held him, he's been terrific cover during these buys. Low break even, still coin to make. You could even look to flip him after this buy. So, he has absolutely done his job. Well done, Peppy. Really well done, mate. But at the top, we better go with Elliot Yeo. Look, since Elliot Yeo. All right, well, look, since returning in round 11, he's scored a 73, 125, 113. Lots of us were looking to start him at that cheaper price. Last 3 weeks, 24 touches, 4 tackles, 26 touches with 3 tackles, 30 touches with 3. Even kick to handball ratio, he's got premium history, but again, he's got major injury history. This is the big issue with Yeo. When he's on, he's on. But how often is this bloke actually on the park? I just could not go near him. I really worry about this. If you've got him as that 23rd type guy, I think it's okay. You're still paying up 400 for that though. I don't love it, but if he can stay fit, he should score pretty well. The big question mark is, can he stay fit? I couldn't do it myself, but if you want to take a bit of a risk, maybe if you've got some extra trades in the bank and you can afford to do it, then go for your life. It might be a bit of a fun ride anyway. We'll quickly go down the bottom to Wanganeen Millera. So last month, 113, 100, 119, and only a 59 in the wet last week. Look, it just wasn't his type of game. Wanganeen Millera isn't meant for wet weather football. His efficiency was down. Janeth did jump on, so if you want to jump on him, you'll certainly be in good company, but I've got the ship there. I think the ship has sailed. The break-even is still just in the green there, but 467, yeah, I'm just not too sure myself. And then we've got the three Hawks boys in Weddle, Mitchell and Day. Now, many of us have traded one, two, or even all these blokes out of our sides over the last month, but I've got Weddle and Day. I'm planning on keeping Day. He's going to be a, inverted commas, keeper for me to the rest of the season. But wasn't it good? I got my first 100 plus score from him in his last game. So super stoked to see that. Look, the issue here is we may need to flip more likely a Weddle or a Mitchell down or up to make one of our last upgrades. Now, do you want to do it this week, or do you want to just wait a week, hold on to these guys, knowing that they're going to be playing this week, and then look to flip them possibly after the bye? You can certainly look to do that because we've got break-evens of 37 and 42 there for Weddle and Mitchell, even Day 65. Now, would I recommend jumping on Day? Look, it's tough to recommend that because remember, before last week, or his last game, people were jumping off left, right and centre. So I couldn't recommend him straight away just after the one solid game. But I'm okay with having him in my side. I don't mind owning Will Day at the moment. Just hope that he can keep going. But I'd really look to hold Weddle and Mitchell if you can. I think with Sicily out, these blokes could actually benefit, or at least one of them could. So if you can, do it. But again, if you're getting, a Petrarca in your side, if you really want a Darcy Cameron type or another premium such as your Laird, then go for it. But if you're going down to a speculative type pick, then I'd probably look to hold. On to the defenders under 250k, and again, not too many options here. We've got the Pelican up the top there, 221,200 with a break even of 7. In the notes section, you can see that I've got the ship has sailed there. Look, if you're ultra desperate, I suppose you could go there, but he's already gone up too much, in my opinion anyway. We are just really, really struggling for defenders at the moment. Mullen hasn't come through. I think he may be even available, but not selected, so that doesn't help us here. And look, down the bottom, Campbell Chesser, jeepers, break even of 23, 3-rounder of 35. I can't believe he's actually got up to a 35 because he's just been a terrible rookie this year. I've got the slow burn symbol there. Could have been the poo symbol. But look, if he gets up this week, if you've already got him, maybe he'll give you an extra 30 to 40 points on field. But I just don't think it's worth bringing him in, particularly at that elevated price. I'd almost just go for a DPP 102k type bloke. But look, back to the Pelican. Scores of 87, 52, 68. Hasn't set the stat sheet on fire. That first week with 15 touches was certainly his best. Gone down to 10 in round 13 and all the way down to 8 against Brisbane, but did get 68. That's because he had 6 tackles. So in round 13 against the Saints, didn't lay a single one. Against the Lions, he got 6. So that really helped him to get to that 68 score. But without them, relying on those 8 touches and 3 marks, I just don't think that it's really going to cut it for this price. Job security, I'm really not too sure. We do have Arnold possibly who's waiting in the wings, so I wouldn't jump on the Pelican now. Think you really had to do it last week. On to the midfielders, 500k plus, and a few people may be looking to go shopping here this week to make some final upgrades to their side, and we do have a few names that I've got the buy now symbol on. Up the top is Titch. Look, apart from a low 64 in the Pies loss to the Lions, he's been super consistent, peppering around 100 to 110 with his two biggest scores coming in the last 2 weeks. He's not a really sexy pick, as we know. There's no X factor with Titch, but looks like you'll get a solid, say, 105 average from here. At M8, it wouldn't be the worst selection when other coaches like myself have someone like Jack Steele sitting there. Now, Rory Laird should have enjoyed the break last week because he's been carrying some injury niggles for a little while now. The week before the bye, he tore West Coast apart. Looked like prime Laird from 2022, and I think now is an ideal time to jump on if you don't own him. You're still getting close to, an 80k discount, his starting price, 145, 115, 112, 156 in the last month. He's laid 37 tackles in that time as well, which is a great sign. Has a really friendly break even. I am all for bringing in this man this week. Noah Anderson, bit of a pod. I'm not too excited by this pick, but he does possess a terrific ceiling. Talented player, can find the ball with ease. Stewie took him out of some CBAs last week, which was interesting. I had no idea what's going on there. He was their only decent player there. They took Humphrey out as well, who we'll talk about later. But apart from Stewie trying to change things up, I think he should be right. Go for him if you want, but he doesn't really float my boat. Now, Lachie Neale, this bloke does 144 points last week. I bought him in the week before, and he looks sublime. So, I'd say a below par season for his usual standards. The average is down. The 3-rounder, though, that's looking nice with a 123. If he can go anything close to that, I'll be absolutely wrapped. Will it happen? I don't know. I wouldn't go that far, but a 115 to 120, I think would be absolutely laughing. So I've got the buy now symbol there. Break even, well on the green, under 100, 98. I think he's looking to get into some red hot form. So Lachie Neale, I think, is a good buy this week. Now, Darcy Parish, well, talk of him coming back this week. Look, there's no way in the world I'd bring him in off an injury straight off the bat, but maybe one to look at in a couple of weeks, then jump on if you like what you see. Durability is always a risk, though. I've just got the pass for now, but I do have the binocular symbols on there. Just see how he goes, I reckon. Lukey Parker had a killer game last week. Real captain's game, to be honest. Tough as nails, hit the scoreboard. Only gone under 100 once in the last 7 weeks. I really don't mind him as a pod in under 2,000 sides. So a massive lone wolf midfield move, if you like Lukey. I actually don't mind it myself. Zeret, coming off the bye, I think he's a decent trade in. Should be a good own during the Supercoach finals with his last month's fixture, and the one that you'll most likely want before that nice stretch. I'd prefer Laird, but I still think Zeret is a fine selection. A track we will get back to in a sec. Andy Brayshaw, after the bye, he's delivered a pair of 107s. 2 weeks before that, he delivered his owners 134 and a 127. So I think he's been a great trade in. If you purchased him a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, I just wish I had him over Jack Steele. Spewing, but yeah, it's still a nice option, Andy. Doesn't present much value for me, and I'd probably say that he's priced accordingly. Sarong hasn't looked great, has he, the past few weeks after looking like one of the hottest midfielders in the comp for those first couple of months. 93, 108, and 84 doesn't scream pick me, and although I love him as a player, his recent form, that foot issue, it's got me slightly worried. So a pass from me. I've got the worried symbol on there, but if he regains his early form, could be a super pick. So if you're looking for a for an upgrade, I'll just say maybe in the next couple of weeks, track him, see how he's going, see if he passes the eye test, and if he does, you could be getting him maybe around that 550 mark, which could be an absolute bargain for him. And then we go back to Mr. Petrarca. So we got into a really big conversation about him on the Swordplay Potty. So if you really want to go back, I've time-stamped that. You get my opinion, Spill's opinion, Janeth's opinion. So you get all three of us there. So I'm really not going to repeat myself. Go back and check that out. But I think it was Janeth's view that if Clary doesn't play this week, then get Track in. If you can wait the week, we all reckon that Clary is the man to go to. But in saying that, Track's a bit of a pod. He really beats up on those weaker sides. And we took a look at his last 6 weeks, and we're talking on the members call earlier on before I recorded this with H. Causa and Jono there. And we looked at his last 6 weeks again, just phenomenal. Lead up and Supercoach finals themselves. So I won't go through all the numbers. As I said, you can check out the potty, but I really, really like him as a selection. If I had to choose between the two and just say looking to go next week, then I'm still going Clary. Clary's season averages, they're just absolutely crazy. You can rely on the man. I think Track traditionally has been a little bit more up and down. So look, for me, I am definitely more of a Clary fan. Those season averages, 70.3, 111.5, 114.7, 109.4, 122.2, 123.5, 127.1, and 124.7 so far this year. Track in his last few years, after moving right into the midfield in that breakout year, so 117.5, 111.4, 112.4, and last year, career best with a 118.9. So without Oliver, he's gone 122, 159, 95. The 3 ceiling scores, as I mentioned, it was against the Roos, 167, easy kill against the Hawks, 148, and it was an easy kill at the time against the Blues before they regained a little bit of form last week. See how long that lasts. Hopefully, Janeth, it's a little while, but he did score a 159 against them. Face them all again as well. Supercoach finals, North, Carlton, Hawthorn, and Sydney. So, yeah, how is that? Those 3 scores, if they get repeated, I don't think they will. Look, it's possible, but anything close to that, then he's going to be an absolute monster them. So, look, I'd probably prefer Clary in the short term for his consistency. If he can get on track, though, before that stretch, maybe 6 weeks out from the end of the season, then that would be a super move. So maybe if you leave a few trades in the bank just to allow that move to happen, I would highly, highly rate that. But yeah, look, again, commiserations to Oliver owners. For those that held, I thought that the best thing to do was to get out. But at the same time, it's not a, an I told you so type moment. There was merit for holding. I can certainly understand that as well. I was in a different camp, but yeah, either way that you went, there was pros and cons for it at the time. We couldn't have predicted this, so super unlucky. But for non-owners like me, it's a little bit of a blessing, and now I'll be able to possibly look to go him next week. But if you're looking to go a midfielder on this list this week, the player I would go for would be Rory Laird. On to the midfielders, 250 to 500k, and up the top we have Matty Johnson. Super disappointing for owners last week, subbed out with a bit of a corky. All of a sudden, we've got concerns whether or not he's even going to be named this week. After last week, we were thinking beautiful, could be cover for the year. He should be around 310k by the end of this week, but unfortunately, with that low score, that cash gen is really, really going to start to slow up. So, personally, I may even look to trade him this week, but he's a fine hold, if he's named. If he's not named, then I think he's certainly someone that you could move on, and that is really unfortunate, as I said. But hopefully he's got a little bit of credit in the bank with that performance a week before, and if he's over that corky, hopefully he'll maintain his spot. And then you can see here, I'm really desperate, aren't I? Just to give you a couple of names. We've got a couple of jacks here. The first one being Viney. So if you're up for a roller coaster ride, then jump on Jack Viney. I'll read you out his scores. So we've got 80, 60, 131, 110, 115. Lovely run there. 86, 81. Then bang, 149, 54, 59. 86. And then last week, 156. Absolutely killed it. His highest score of the season. So, does possess a good ceiling. 3 really nice games at 156, 149. That was against Hawthorn. And a 131 against West Coast. So, you certainly wouldn't say that Collingwood's weak opposition. But his other 2 really big scores, Hawthorn and West Coast. Well, no disrespect to them. But they are certainly weaker type opposition. So, look, for me, there is no way that I could do it. Go one of the other boys. Certainly not Clary this week, obviously, but go Track if you want someone from Melbourne. But if you're super desperate, want to have a bit of fun, then go for Jack. Could reward you every now and then, I suppose. And Crispy, it sort of just peppers a 90 mark, 90, 101, 80, 164, 92, 121, 75, 90, 80, 70, 91, 98, and then 119 last week. Was actually his second highest score of the season. So Crispy is a little bit of a burn man for me. Hired him in the back line last year and really, really under-delivered. So I couldn't go there personally, but again, I'm just pretty desperate to give you a couple of random options here. Will Ashcroft, so I'm looking to hold him possibly as cover for the year. I think that's a little bit of a luxury. You could get some better cover. Your Himmelbergs, maybe, obviously on the midfield, different positions. So in the overall scheme of things, I think if I can leave him at M9 for the year, that's going to be a really big win. However, if he's a bloke that you do need to upgrade to get to your final premium, then absolutely go for it. But I've really stuck to my plan since the start of the year. I said that he should be my final upgrade, and if I even upgrade him at all, then that will be the case. So, magnificent season from Will Ashcroft, and that break-even is in the green. Does have a few games coming up the Gabba. Obviously, the Saints this week, but after that, yeah, it's not looking too bad. Oh, wow. Talk about looking bad. I've got no words, really. Well, actually, I've got a lot of words. If you tuned into the Swordplay Potty this week, my rant turned into a really long discussion about Jack Steele, so I really don't want to repeat myself too much here, but very, very quickly, what really, really concerned me was when Brad Crouch came out and gave this quote. So this is from AFL Ratings on Twitter, so shout out to you guys. Brad Crouch said, "We are playing a different game style, which may be negatively affecting or impairing the numbers for Jack Steele." Now that's a teammate that's came out and said that. How more concerning can you get? Why on earth is he commenting on Jack Steele? It's so tough. I'm an owner. I jumped on him in round 8, just really undelivered there. Achilles, shoulder, knee. What's going on with the bloke? Another major, major concern. In the wet last week, Jack Steele is built for wet weather football. 4 tackles. 4 tackles. This is not Jack Steele. It's not Superman. It's Clark Kent without the powers, really. And I mentioned the Swordplay Potty that he just must have pockets full of kryptonite at the moment because he's just a shell of his former self. 468,900 with a 3-round average of 66. Compare that to Matty Johnson. That really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? Jack Steele has a lower 3-round average than Matthew Johnson. Wow-wee. I've got the hold or the sell there. Now, jeez, I still don't know what I'm doing. At this stage, an option that I've got is to loop Steele and Ashcroft for the remainder of the year. I'm in a situation where I've probably got a couple of spare trades in order to possibly downgrade Ashcroft and get Steele up. So I may lose that cover but get a really nice premium. You're losing lots of points here. So if my M8 is Jack Steele and other people have, just say even a Tom Green or someone like that, how many points each week you're losing? We've got 10 rounds to go. If you're saying you're losing 30 points, that's 300. 30 points a week is 300. Again, in the Swordplay Potty, we went through the ranks. That gets you from, say, 10k to around the 5 to 6k mark. That's huge. So you can hold, you can sell, you can hope that he comes good. But my advice would be, if you can and you're in a position to do so, get out of Dodgeville now. You probably should have done it last week, but the issue is, at his price, there's not too many options. You're looking at Vineys and Crisps, but if you compare the 3-round average, then you're making over 30 points there. So if you can get rid of him, say, see you later, Jack. But if not, hope and pray to the Supercoach gods. On to the midfielders under 250k, and as you can see here, we do have to pay up a little bit. We covered these guys in great detail in last week's stock market video, and each one of them managed to score well. So the bloke at the top of the list, Dev Rob, doesn't have DPP, does come at the highest price, 218,900, but he has actually still gone down from his original starting price. I think in the first price rises, or first price changes, sorry, he did go down over 50k. Started as a sub in those games, first two, 23-0, and then -1. That's right, -1. But in his two full games, starting in the 22, he scored an 84 and a 95 last week. Now, we've got Zorko to come in, most likely this week, along with McCluggage. Who goes out? Well, for me, there's two unlucky players, because I think both performed really well on the weekend. One performed, I think, extremely well in his debut game in Fletcher, but I think probably Lohman and Fletcher move out of the 22 to allow Zorko and McCluggage to come in. But then you ask yourself, who's next in line? And for me, I think it's pretty clearly Dev Robertson. So, look, last week, kicked a goal, missed a goal. Role wasn't fantastic, but did make an impact and stepped up in a couple of crucial moments. I really love him as a player. I've mentioned it last week that I'm worried we won't even be able to keep on to him if we don't continue to give him games, but it's really, really tough. So, Dev, I like as a pick. As I mentioned last week, short-term job security, and that was giving him 2 weeks. Last week, this week, I guaranteed, but after that, it's really, really hard to predict. It is with any of these blokes, isn't it? You know, Sheldrick, what a game last week. 91 points, 19 touches, 9 of those contested, 4 tackles, 4 clearances, kicked those 2 goals in the third quarter, looked awesome. He really kept them in it, I think, but there's a big issue, and that's the fact that his TOG was only 55%. His points per minute were crazy, but what happens when he gets 55% time on ground and doesn't kick 2? Or, when a Mills comes back? I'm just not too sure. He's got that DPP bonus over Robertson, which is good. He's the cheapest out of the 3. And when I say the 3, that's Robbo, Sheldrick, and Windy there. And he's almost impossible to drop, isn't he? Really, you could not drop this bloke after that performance. Does he have 1 week, 2, 3? Again, I keep on saying it, but I'm really not too sure. These picks are extremely hard to read. I think I've probably got a better read on Dev, given the fact that I'm a Lions supporter myself. But Sheldrick, I really, really rate as a player after watching him play last week. Really the first time I looked at him carefully. But do you go Dev, do you go Sheldrick, or do you go this man? Marcus Windhager. So, 42 points in round 13, but his efficiency was shocking. But last week, 20 touches, laid 7 tackles, 4 clearances, almost half of those touches was contested, 9 out of the 20, and had a team high for midfielders CBA rate of 81%. It was 36% the week before in round 13, where he got those 42 points. Clark's due back, I think, in around 3 to 4. Jones is playing VFL, I think, and closing in along with Billings. But for now, it looks like his job security is okay, and he has the best role. And what he's got over Sheldrick is time on ground, 86%. So we're talking 30% plus extra time on ground for Windhager over Sheldrick. Surely he's got the opportunity to do a little bit more damage. So if you're asking me to rate these guys 1 to 3, I think it's almost impossible. But as a Lions man, I'd love to go Dev, but I'm probably leaning towards the 2 blokes with DPP and Sheldrick or Windy there. I'm leaning more towards Windhager purely because of that time on ground. CBA rate as well. Will he keep it? Most likely not, but he was doing a little bit of a role on, was it Bolton, I think, from memory last week. But they may not even look to tag this week. I was talking to Jono before earlier tonight, and I think that he said that Ross Lyon mentioned he may not even look to tag. So that's interesting because we've got Lockie Neal on our side, and I was a little bit shocked to hear that. But if that's the case, what does that mean for this man? Will he continue to stay in the middle, maintain those CBAs if he's not tagging? Will he even maintain his spot? Surely he has to, because I really rated his game last week. But again, I'm not Ross Lyon. So risks attached with all three of these blokes. The issue is that if it's not one of these three, then what is it? An Elijah Hewitt, 137,700 with a 3-rounder of 27. I've just got to pass. His break even is 32 and it's in the red. That's how bad he's going. So, yeah, it's a really tough week for downgrades. But I think that these blokes are certainly still relevant. In the notes section, the symbol is, same as last week, you are rolling the dice. There is caution there, but they may be the best options out of an ordinary bunch that we've got this week. On to the big boys in the rucks, and I've only got 4 names here this week, and I know that there may be a few coaches that are actually looking to move on Big Kizza. Now, I'm a fan of holding this bloke. I think he is an absolute premium. He's proven that over the last 4 to 5 weeks. So I'm a big advocate for holding Briggs. But if you are trading, a few blokes are, such as Causa, then there are 4 options here. The option down the bottom in Big Shrek, you just couldn't go there, I don't think. Coming off a hammy injury, break even, close to 200. He's going to go down close to 50k if he goes around an 85, 90. Even if he gets to 120, well, he's still going down 25 to 30k anyway. So I don't think you can go Shrek this week. English has obviously got the bye. So that really leaves you, I think anyway, with 3 options here. Now, English I like as the number 1 option. Unfortunately, he does have the bye. Now, a quick play you could look at, and I'll talk about this bloke in a sec, but if you are keen on trading out Briggs this week, you really, really want English, but obviously he isn't playing, then what you could look to do if you've got an extra spot in your forward line is even trade in Darcy Cameron this week. And I tell you what, I could not get this bloke in my team quick enough when Supercoach opened. I think he's a great option this week. Great cover if one of our rucks go down. We know that the big boys aren't really known for their durability, so I think that this cover is close to essential. And Decam can not only cover, but score well at F6 in his own right. He's the number 1 ruck. He's warmed into things after injury. And I can't really see him averaging under 95. I think he could even get to the 105 average. Some people may say that's a little bit too much, but as a number 1 ruck playing for Collingwood, I really think it's possible. He is good around the ground as well. He does face Wits, English and Shrek in the next month, but it does get easier after that. 105, 92 in his last 2. That's fine, and his price is really friendly for potential output and bonus coverage. So, in my opinion, wonderful option this week. You've got Rowan Marshall there, 588,000. So, look how much more you're paying for Rowan. Is he going to average that much more than Decam? I'm really not too sure. I think with Rowan, lots of the competition already own him, so I don't think there'll be too many looking to actually trade into him. And the other bloke you've obviously got here is Witsy, so close to 600k, but we know he's a pretty reliable type scorer. Issue is, he's got a break even highly in the red there, but remember, if you are looking to get a keeper in, then that break even doesn't matter too much if you are looking to get them in this particular week. So, look, Cameron, for me, is far above the best pick, almost on any line this week. And if I had to choose between the other 3 in Marshall, Wits and Shrek, it's Jared Wits for me. I'd pay up that extra 11k. But again, English, really good option next week if you can. The only thing you could do is get Decam now and maybe get him into your forward line and get Big Timmy maybe next week. On to the forwards, 500k plus, and as you can see, we only have 3 names here. This is the buy round that we have been dreading in our forward lines. Many premiums unavailable this week. We've got Taranto, who everybody has. We've got the 2 Port Boys in Butters and Rosie. Even if you've got a Zeeble, a Sheasel type, gone. A Cogs, gone. Super, super tough in our forward lines this week. But if you are looking to invest in a premium, then the bloke up the top, Nick Martin, well, he's been in the best form of his career over the last 3 weeks. 120, 129 and 139. That puts him right up there with the big mids for 3-round averages. The main issue here is that these scores have been against West Coast, North and Carlton. In his next 5, he's got Freo away, Port, Adelaide, Geelong and the Dogs. So it does get a little bit harder. If you want to go a lone wolf, then go for it. He's currently sitting in only 1.3% of sides, but he's already gone up over 80k during the last 3. So there certainly isn't as much value as what there was before. But it's a tough one. He hasn't got premium scoring history. He's got a nice 120 plus probably midway through the season. But look, if he continues this 3-round average, he will be an absolute steal. Can he? I'm not sure. If you think he can, then absolutely go for it. Got some DPP there as well, which could come in handy. Josh Dunkley, this bloke is absolutely elite. I'll tell you what, I can't explain how great it is to have this bloke playing for my side in the Lions. He's an absolute jet. When there was news of Josh Dunkley possibly looking to move to Brisbane last year, I absolutely hit the roof because I've always been a massive, massive fan of Dunkley, and being able to watch him even closer this year, it's been such a joy. This bloke is such an unselfish player, always team first, but still manages to absolutely pump it out. Look at that 3-round average, 144. And I reckon if you looked at his 5-round average, it'd be pretty impressive as well. So Josh Dunkley from now on should be considered each and every week in your VC loophole. I'll probably look to involve him again, I think, this week. And Errol, well, he's been an absolute roller coaster, as you can see there. We've seen the ups, the downs, the okays, the absolute uglies. What's he going to do this week? Well, he is playing the lowly West Coast Eagles. So, look, even if he gets played in the forward pocket, he could probably kick 5. Who knows? But again, with Errol, a lot of it does come down to roll. We want to see him in the guts. What's Horse going to do with him? I've got absolutely no idea. So it could be something absolutely fantastic or could be something pretty average. On to the forwards, 250 to 500k, and we've got 5 options this week we'll take a quick look at. As we know, most players in this price range are fraught with danger, but there are some positives to these picks, and we'll go through some of those. So up the top, we've got Benny Keys. He's tempting a few with that increased mid-time. We'll probably tag Dacos this week, so I don't like his chances of scoring overly well. It's all about role here. If he plays for the midfield, he'll be a great selection for the price. If he doesn't, I think he could be a bit of a failed pick. So the story is, since round 11, he's had 70%, 75%, and then down to 55% CBAs in round 13. Earlier on this season, 17%, 0%, another 0%. So again, it just comes down to roll. We can't get in the head of Matthew Nicks. If he could, we'd know whether or not to get him or not. But I'm finding it really, really hard to navigate this pick. So I'm staying away personally, as I'm not really in a position to be getting that 23rd type pick at this stage. And that's another thing. These blokes should be a 23rd premium. If you're relying on any one of these blokes to score for you on field week upon week for the remainder of the season, then that is very, very dangerous. I just would not trust any of these guys to deliver a consistent score. But I'm okay with the Keys pick. Fife, he had a shocker last week. Highly disappointed new owners. Only the 47 points after the 90 the week before. And that's pretty much enough to scare me off. So I've got the caution symbol there with the 23. And I should mention as well, with Benny Keys, the symbol there is a custom from AFL Doodles. Absolute legend on Twitter. So make sure that you follow him, AFL Doodles, on Twitter. Thank you very much for that, brother. Much appreciated. The next bloke is Humphrey B. Bear. Had a solid game, even though he lost basically all of his CBAs after getting 62% and then 41% 2 weeks prior. That was down to a measly 7% last week. His share went to Davies and to a small degree Powell and Holman. They had 20% each. Kicked his customary goal, but nothing clutch. The scores weren't tight, so he's really relied on those bonus points, hasn't he, to sort of get up to that 90 plus mark. Did kick a nice long assist, which was nice. I'm holding for now, and then may look to upgrade him next week to a Clary Libba track type. But again, here's another one there that you can have as your 23rd premium. Would really like to see him get back inside that midfield, though. Maybe Stewie was just experimenting. I'm really not too sure there, but even up forward, he still gave us a mid-70s score, so that's all good. And the two Geelong boys, they're out of form. They have been for a while, but I guarantee you this, very soon, I don't know exactly when, at least one of these guys will go bang and could be an ideal F7. Either of them could be, due to their high ceilings. And look, key forwards, again, this is why I say don't rely to have these guys on field each week, but as key forwards, when they're on, these blokes can score 150 plus, and to have that on your bench, being able to loop that score in, I think will be a huge advantage, but risky going for now. Let's just wait and see if they can hit some form. And we'll finish off with the forwards under 250k. We've got three options here. Not in love with many of them, but I think there is probably one clear standout, even though he has played the one game. But up the top, we have Harvey Harrison on the bubble this week. 50 against West Coast and a 59 against the D's, averaging 10 touches over the first two, almost 4 tackles. Lots of competition for a spot in Collingwood's best 22, so you'd have to think that job security is pretty iffy. If he gets named, you can go for it, but he doesn't fill me with great confidence. Seems like a decent player, though. This bloke, Ryan Marich, a mid-season rookie, bit of a rule breaker here because he's only played the one game. But to put it simply, job security should be solid, should give you 40 to 50 type scores. He had 8 touches for 2 goals in his debut game and laid a couple of tackles. Not too bad. Given his low price and availability this week, along with the fact that, let's be honest, there are really no decent rookie downgrades, I think he's a bit of a no-brainer trade-in for Ford. If you don't have Ford, basically any other one of these rookies, because I think that he'll get games. Look, he's not going to give us much, but going down to 102k should give you a little bit of money left in the bank, and that could even allow you to make your final upgrade. So I like Marich over Harrison. And Sturt, look, he's kept his spot for the last 3 weeks, although when he started as the sub or was subbed up, I can't quite remember which way it was. But look, a talented player, but job security worries me. He comes at an inflated price, probably one I would just skip for now. So that's it for now, guys. All the best of luck with your trade-ins and your trade-outs for this week, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Cheers, bye.